We're doing absolutely fabulous. How are you?
Yeah, good. I see we've got Gary here, Danny Hands have all joined us. Who else is with us today?
Hang on. Once again, I screwed up and didn't didn't mute my speaker, so we're good now. Yes, I'm deceiving the entire audience with my background because it's actually bright and sunny out, as you could tell by my face looking out the window. My background is a nighttime shot from my balcony.
Nice. You've had that on for a couple of weeks now. Are you in a different room though still at the moment?
I am, because I'm remodeling my office. So
Gotcha.
I should be there possibly by next week's show. I decided to get one of those desks that goes up and down.
Oh yeah, standing desk. I'm on one now, but I'm sitting. Yeah.
Little electric motor to raise it up and do some stuff. And
yeah.
so I'm using that as kind of an excuse to kind of remodel the whole office and make it into something more productive.
Nice.
You remember the background before I had of the
yeah.
water, which was actually not a virtual background. That was wallpaper.
Yep.
I'll be back there possibly by next episode. So
excellent. We've got Mark joining us and Ken. I've spent last week. I actually built my office. I haven't lined it yet, but I actually built the room that is my office.
Very
so
nice.
in building it, it's been quite good in that, I've run all my network cable and everything, which I haven't been on network cable for years, but it's going to be nice having a whole network infrastructure set up the way I want it.
You're out in the middle of nowhere, right? So even though you got network through the house, it's connecting to what, a Wi-Fi puck on the roof?
No. It's connected through old copper cables, old ADSL technology, but I'm about to upgrade that to a Wi-Fi link. When I say Wi-Fi, a radio signal, be UHF, off a local transmitter here, which will give me high speed up and down. But I've always, when I'm set up, I have my this alcohol here is just, we've got some cupboards that were put in wrong, and so we're having them reinstalled. And so notice that all the wrappers are on these, and that's because it's all duty-free alcohol. And I used to travel so much, I bought my maximum limit every time we'd come into the country. But man, this is the first year I've not traveled in probably over 10 years. So very bizarre. Good observation, Ken. Good observation.
Well, hopefully you were able to build up quite an inventory previously.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be building a full bar here in my barn conversion, so it should be interesting.
It's funny watching you in a jacket sitting in front of an actual fire. And I've got the AC turned down to like 70 degrees and it's still hot in here.
No, it's our wintertime, right? That's the flip side of the other part of the world. So Southern Hemisphere, it's winter when you've got your summer, and vice versa, of course.
Yeah. Well, I failed geography, so.
So one of the things I published this week, when I say I published, I just put it on my LinkedIn, and I just dropped it into the chat there, which was a document called, it's all around creating a digital culture within an organization. And it's a 64-page document that Microsoft has released called the Creator's Manual. Crazily, I'm just shy of 10,000 views on that. It went crazy. So LinkedIn these days don't normally rocket up the Scorroll, Flat Earth, rocket up the views there, but this manual's really getting some traction. 64 pages. Really, it goes on a journey of an organization if they want to create a digital culture. So really, beyond digital transformation, into the model where they build a digital culture into their business. And of course, this plays into, the pro dev story is just as much as the citizen developer story for Microsoft and the Power Platform.
Yeah, I took a look at it when I saw it pop up on LinkedIn. It looks like a well put together document. You know, for Microsoft, you know, some are put together better than others, and this one certainly looks like it's a well put together document. I think I made a comment. It looked like it would be kind of good for, you know, companies new to the Power Platform. You know, there's just so many
Yeah,
people out
it
there
kind of
that,
takes it. It kind of goes on a scaling model. You'll see in there ready set go, which is okay if you're at ground zero and you don't have any kind of you know, app creation skills within your business or automation skills. Where do you start? How do you
yeah,
build out? How do you establish your first teams? Where do partners come into it? And then
yeah,
growing right up to the go stage, which is where you've got like a dedicated team in your company and you're systematically going through and going, you know, what in our organizational processes could be digitized and should be digitized for the benefit of staff and the company or organization.
you know, I
And
think
it,
there's, you know, so many customers out there, they just don't know what they don't know. I
yeah,
think that's the challenge for. I mean, the same thing with partners and ISVs. They just don't know what they don't know, and I thought it was a good introduction to here's some things that you need to know. It
yeah,
doesn't go super deep into stuff. It's kind of
no,
like, you know,
it's
it's covering
designed for
like,
the business decision maker. This document, right? For business decision makers, executives, etc., to go. You know what? We need to establish this within our organization. Here's kind of like a loose framework to get started, and here's links to heaps of other resources to really crank in. You know, it refers to the COE, their package of tools that Microsoft provide. It talks a lot about governance and things like that. So it really is but it's aimed at the C-suite or executive layer of an organization and getting them thinking about how do we go on that journey.
very cool, very
Yeah.
cool.
So I thought I would publish it up there, being that Microsoft released it. Yeah, there's definitely been quite a bit of interest in it.
You know what? It's funny. You never know what people are going to bite on when you. I'm kind of
Yeah,
pivoting a little bit just to social media. You know, you and I post stuff. You more than me, but when you post stuff, you just never know when you know somebody's gonna when some topic is gonna take off and a whole bunch of people are gonna be interested or nobody.
yeah.
It's such a crapshoot. Sometimes you know.
Not Dataflex. No, definitely not Andrew.
He's saying it
Uh,
mentions CDS, not Dataflex, but Dataflex is already gone. So CDS
I
probably, I don't know what the hell they're going to call that now.
no, very clearly CDS, the
You think
Common
that
Data Service.
you think they're going to stick with that name? I think they're
I
looking for another one.
I honestly do not know what their plans and where they're going to go on this journey now. As in, you know, there was talk a couple of weeks ago about some new name coming out. I think the approval process to get a name approved now is going to be
A lot longer,
extreme. You know,
much more rigid. Yes, yes.
I don't know why they don't do like own a reinvented word, right? You know when they took the word power apps and made it power space apps. I
Right.
don't know if that was a smart move. It's better to use from a dictionary definition point of view, that type of thing, SEO, all that type of you know, application. Why don't you keep it as a unique word? You know, two words smashed together. It performs well on SEO. And of course, the likelihood that someone has trademarked a smashed word,
Yeah.
um, not as likely. So I don't know why they don't come up like they did with Dynamics 365,
Yeah.
something along those lines that, you know, they can use consistently and build out their framework.
Yeah. I think when you come up with a made up word like that or a push together word like that, the SEO works better, but it's all on you then.
Yeah,
Because people aren't going to type that word in the search
yeah,
unless they know about it. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Absolutely. So true. So true.
But it,
But
wa-
the thing is,
if
people
you're
are not going to know
typing
about Power Apps or Power Automate unless they've heard about it, right?
if you typed in Power Apps with no space, it would be all Microsoft. If
Yeah,
you typed in Power Space Apps, you're going to
yeah,
get Power Lawnmowers. You're going to
yeah,
get iPhone apps.
yeah,
You're going to get everything out there. I mean, maybe if you put it in quotes, it would help, but still, I kind of agree. You know, we did that with Rapid Start CRM shortly after we launched. We kind of pushed Rapid Start together into one word and then pushed CRM on the end of it. So it's really all one word.
Yeah.
Of course, it completely blew up their ability to find us in App Source unless you know exactly how to spell the entire name.
Yeah.
We used to show up, people just start typing in like Rapid and we'd show up in App Source before. Now you got to type out the entire name or you won't find us at all.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I found I was reading this week an article around CDP. And it's something that, you know, we saw Charles Lamanna's title get updated to this, the customer data platform.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to take the traction that we've seen. Like, there's so many words around this, but CDP, of course, is a category or a space in the market that is growing in its own right. And there's been a lot of small players in that space or dedicated players. And this article was all around what does it mean now the enterprise players are getting in there. And interesting, Salesforce is starting to talk about CDP, yet they haven't even released their CDP offering yet. It's in beta. Well, they haven't, you know, publicly made it available. But of course, Microsoft is seen as one of those big players now in the customer development platform space. Now, apart from Charles changing his title, we've not heard much more from within Microsoft around this reference to CDP.
No, maybe they're trying to have that reference go away and have Power Platform become the new reference. You know, I don't know. It is interesting though how they, you know, back when we started with Microsoft, and you were there way before us, but even when we started, they only really had a handful of competitors for the whole Dynamics group, right? You had obviously Salesforce, you had SAP,
Yeah.
Oracle, you had a handful of players, and then, you know, some other CRM companies here and there that were competing. But now, you know, across their stack, I mean, they're competing with so many companies at so many different levels. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked before about customer voice, which used to be Forms Pro. You know, that's competing now with all the custom form companies that they never competed with before. Flow competing with Zapier and all these other automation things. RPA competing with everything out there, and now low code going after all those low code. I mean, the number of competitors that they have. But they don't have that one big competitor that can hurt them anymore. But they got a million competitors now they never had before. Every time they get in, stick their toe in a new space, you know?
Yeah, so true.
AI, all those AI competitors. Well, not to bore everybody with more ISV talk, but I did have a chat with Toby Bowers Friday.
Nice. Nice. You're creating waves with your new ISV. I saw it a message come through on WhatsApp this week. I'll just read it out around. I love somebody's reference to your new website. Let me just see it here. PowerApp Live. What did they say here? Just playing catch up on last week's session. What's the URL to Steve's porn site? Dave Newman there put that in. So of course I informed an ISV connected was the new porn site.
I guess porn would be you know, an abortion if that's what it ends up being of a site. But
what was funny is that when I put the link up, then all these people gave kind of like disappointed faces. Expecting, that ain't quality porn.
I had a chat with Toby. It was mostly off the record. Although you know, I'm going to talk to him again on the record soon, but this was mostly off the record, just kind of catching up on what's going on. So you know, he's going to be the new guy. And I've always liked Toby. He's definitely more diplomatic than Googs was. He's 20 years at Microsoft. I didn't realize that. Toby Bowers.
Is that right?
20 years.
Wow.
Long time at Microsoft. So Be
I
watching
wonder
for.
if you'll bring back PAC. You know how the Partner Advisory Council was something that was pre-Googs. Googs kind of knocked that on the head. I wonder if you'll bring that back and really starting to engage with key ISVs. Well, it was about 25 people used to be on PAC, or 25 companies represented, but they were kind of a cross section of the ISVs out in the space. I wonder if they'll put that back together.
So I was on 3 different PACs over the years.
Yeah.
For about 5 years, I was on PACs. I started out on a PAC that was called the SMB PAC.
Yeah.
And then I moved over to the Worldwide Dynamics PAC, which was held separately from all the others. And there was about, it's about 200 members of that PAC. And after they launched, I remember the announcing Dynamics 365 and that sort of stuff. And I remember, I can't remember her name right now, Barbara something, who was a muckety muck at the time, getting up and telling all of us that we're going to be so happy because licensing is going to get so much simpler. And this was coming from the days when it was like, 44 bucks, or 30 bucks. Licensing gets so much simpler. Well, little did we know. But over the years, that PAC, they gradually reduced the size of it down to about 40 members, and then they moved it over into the larger PAC organization, because twice a year in Seattle, they had PAC meetings, and it was at the Hyatt, and they had all these PACs. There's Azure PAC, Office 365 PAC, Security PAC, all these different PACs would all come out there, and there'd be an opening reception kind of in a grand ballroom, and Gabriella would come out and do the rah-rah stuff. And then everybody kind of split off into their individual PAC rooms, and PACs are, 20, 25 people in a room.
Yeah.
And you'd sit there basically all day long as various Microsoft people came in one after another and did dog and pony show of stuff they were working on, things they were coming up with, and, looking for feedback from a small group. They ultimately split Dynamics PAC into 2, one for SIs and one for ISVs, because the needs are pretty significantly different.
Yeah.
And then when Googs came in, this is where I met him. Actually, was at a PAC meeting, Dynamics PAC meeting. Shortly after he came in, he decided that I guess 25 people wasn't big enough to matter. And decided the ISV Connect program instead would be a larger group, and that's where he would get his feedback from a larger group.
Yeah.
Well, frankly, I think that was a massive, and I'm not just because I was on the PAC, but I mean, you got so much more information in a small group of people who knew what they were doing and knew what the space was than you did for this great big, it was just noise. So we'll see. I'll ask Toby about that. Specifically when I talked to him on the record, but
and that's the thing, right? Is that statistically, going to wider and wider groups don't provide better or accurate results. That's a known thing, right? You go down to core, identify them, they'll come up with probably 99% of any feedback, because they're engaged with the wider, their colleagues, etc. They're representing their constituent, which might be 4 or 5 other ISVs, but can provide that honed voice.
So it's funny, Mark's making a comment because he was on PAC also, or on APAC, talking about dog and pony show and them not getting feedback. When I first started with PAC, I remember them coming in, and you have somebody sitting up there and show you his little, here's what we're coming up with for this, that, or the other, and what are your thoughts, and this, that, and the other. And you'd sit there and you'd comment on it, and you'd have a discussion and come up with these great ideas. This guy standing up there saying, that's awesome feedback. I'm going to make sure that we get that acted on and back to the team, and this, that, and the other. And I remember asking one of these guys, because PAC, you can be pretty open. I said, "You're not writing anything down."
Yeah.
Why are you? I mean, there's no one in here writing this information down. Are you just going to remember all this stuff when you go back? Because it was, as Mark said, it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, they did solicit and ask for feedback, but what good was soliciting and asking if nobody's taking it down? Well,
yeah.
The next PAC I was at, they had a stenographer in there,
Hmm.
sitting in the corner of the computer, writing down every single damn thing that was said. I don't know if that was just to make us feel better, because, you know, I guess you would assume that she's writing all these notes. They're probably going to take those notes and send them back to the team, so they got something in writing, or something. At least it made us feel better. But
so here's the thing, right? For meetings to be effective, I mean, there's been so much research in this space. You have the agenda. These are the action items we're covering. These are the objections. Who put them forward? Steve Mordue said, blah, blah, blah. Is there an action item? Do we agree that this is an issue that we need? Like, this is 101 proper meeting protocol in this type of forum, right? Where you have multiple representation of organization. I'm not talking about a business meeting within a company with your colleagues or something like that. In this type of scenario, you generally,
there's no sales motion here either.
yeah. And then it would be minuted. The meeting would be minuted. And at the next meeting, you'd go, hey, here's what was output of last meeting. Here's what was agreed. These are the actions that have happened. And you feel like, wow, we are moving forward. This is 101, how to run a multi-diverse team, meeting that results in action.
Our pack, and each of the packs that I was on, so I guess it's kind of a thing with all the packs. It's something that the product teams are desperate to get in front of. They're fighting for an opportunity to get a slot to go get the feedback, but they are scared to death of us, because, I mean, we would eat them alive. There was no, niceties going on at these pack meetings. This wasn't, great job. This was, that shit sucks. I'm not taking that to any of my fucking customers. This is the dumbest thing. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. At least that'd be me talking. So, so they would get, they were desperately wanting to get the feedback and get in front of the group, but at the same time, kind of scared to death that they were going to get their asses handed to them, because they frequently did.
Yeah. But this is a bit of problem once again around protocols and meetings like this, because often that candid level of response is born out of frustration of nothing getting through. If you keep sugarcoating stuff, nothing would get through. And I mean, I've been there. I mean, my early days as an MVP, I used to really, in those type of sessions at Microsoft, tell them how it is. But what I quickly realized is that, yes, they fear you, but it became the thing of, did it result in change longer? Right. I remember when Microsoft Social Engagement came out, and the guy would get up and rabbit on about Microsoft Social Engagement as though he was an expert on social media. And I would say, before I ask the question, what's your social media handle? Right. Where are you on Twitter and stuff? Oh, I don't have a Twitter account. Oh, how the hell are you an expert on this stuff when you don't even engage on it? You don't participate in it. But the thing is that, yes, you would create a name for yourself. They would fear you, but would it create change? No, because often these product engineers, they look at what analysts are saying in the market. What is the checkbox from an RFP? What are their internal people going, if our product just had this widget, we would be able to sell millions of it. So they listen to their sales folks and go, wow, we got to add that. That's something the product, it's not really market research. It's kind of like checkbox features. Their product has it, our product should have it. There's no that depth of analysis.
I mean, I remember PAC, because I was simultaneously in PAC while I was an MVP, and I usually got information earlier in PAC than I did in the MVP channel.
Yep.
Not dramatically, but earlier. I guess because it was a smaller, more controlled group. It was only like 25 people. But I do remember a lot of wasted time. And these guys come up talking to us for the first time, and they'll start out with first of all, I want to thank all of the partners for your support. Fuck you. Shut up with a thank you. Just get on with your deck, and it got to, so there's a gal named Neha, I think her last name is pronounced Bardawa. Not exactly sure on
I
that.
just watched a video of you and her doing an interview the other day, you know, when we did it
Yeah.
last year.
Well, I'll tell you
And
what,
but Niha's
she
right,
took
yeah.
she took over the ISV pack like I think a year and a half before Googs disbanded it. So she ran
Yeah.
about three of the pack meetings. And when she first came in, she was all, I mean, she was rough and tough, and I don't think any of us liked her. But by the end of the first day, we were all in love with this gal. I mean,
Mm-mm.
she was taking these Microsoft presenters to task. I
Yeah.
mean, she'd be standing up there. She had talked to them all ahead of time that do not waste these people's time. If you want feedback, get to the point quickly. You know,
Yeah.
you're in and out. No more than 3 slides. You know, we're not going to go through slideshows, you know, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I mean, she would hold these people to task, you know, and you'd have them up there saying, I do have one more slide. And they're looking at her in fear that
Yeah.
they were going to have like another slide. So she really ran a tight ship on it. And if it's run that way,
Yeah.
you know, you know, then you can get some value out of it. She kept
Yeah.
things from rambling all over the place.
Well, that's the problem, right? People would come in and they would pitch you, like they'd try to pitch their software features to you like it was the first time you're seeing it. And I remember going to these sessions being pitched something that I saw 18 months ago, and they're trying to pitch it as fresh stuff today. It does get frustrating.
Yeah, I remember plus you need somebody to manage these pack members, right?
Yeah.
You got 20 or 25 people in a kind of horseshoe configuration table. And yeah, I'm obviously not shy. But I also, you know, will say my piece and then shut up. I was in one of the other packs. It was actually just called ISV pack. It was not dynamic specific. It was all up ISV.
Yep.
And there was a CEO of another well-known ISV in that group who, I'll give you a hint, claims to have invented CRM back in the 80s, who's the loudest mouth, opinionated jackass. I mean, makes me look like Mary Poppins, just pompous and telling everybody in the room what they should do, what they should think. And I could not get off that pack soon enough. I got a buddy, James Crowder, may still be on it, but oh my God. So a bad member can definitely ruin a pack. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So, in other news, I don't know if you saw this week, but I read an article. The four largest tech companies in the world now make up $4 trillion worth of worth, and those four are, of course, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet.
Yeah.
And of course, the big one is Apple went through $2 trillion market cap in the last couple of weeks.
So
Pretty crazy. Like
didn't Microsoft hold that position for a little while?
so Microsoft, got the 1 trillion market cap and went nuts. But like, I'm surprised that Apple have gone through now 2 trillion. And what a short time frame these companies are escalating away in. I mean, last year we're talking about all the companies who are in the 1 trillion category. 12 months later, less than, we're already in the 2 trillion category. This is just ridiculous money.
Yeah. I mean, it took them 30 years to hit the trillion, and then another year to hit 2. Yeah, what the?
It blows my
Where's all that money
mind.
coming? Where's all that money coming from? I mean, I know their phones are expensive, and I know we're all compelled to have to upgrade them every time they come out with the slightest little feature. They got an app. You know, their app market is obviously very robust, and they get 30% clip on that. Although I was reading about litigation and a whole bunch
Of
of
course, yeah.
controversy around that,
Yeah,
which Microsoft
Fortnite getting kicked off their platform. But it's interesting. You've seen a lot of stuff from Apple kicking them off the platform for trying to sell or charge in-game, fees without Apple
Sure.
taping the clip. But Google have done the same thing on the Google Play Store. They've kicked them out as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. The wars that are going on there now in that space. It used to be we'd see heaps of litigation for feature, theft or IP similarities, where patents had been taken, but now we're seeing it more on who's getting the biggest cut of that pie. And anybody that runs a marketplace, 30% has been known from day one. The thing is that 30% nowadays is multi-millions a day. It's crazy the amount of money changing hands.
Yeah, and I like to circle these things back to what we're dealing with in our space, Microsoft. They launched a revenue share and kind of pointed at everybody else, and hey, they all did too. But to your point, I mean, Apple, they had that when it started.
Yeah.
It's not like a whole bunch of people built these huge successful ISV businesses and then were suddenly said, hey, by the way, you need to cough up some cash now.
Yeah.
That was kind of the table stakes you knew going in. And that's why even with something like Fortnite, I mean, you knew going in and deciding we're going to build an app on Apple that 30% was, a hard cost, like rent your fucking building. You know, this is as a cost.
Yeah. And it's not like this is breaking these guys' business, right? They're all billion-dollar successful businesses, and they're just wanting more of the pie.
Yep. Exactly. Now, and they're all crying foul.
Yeah.
Like Apple suddenly changed something. I mean, I don't know if they did or didn't change anything.
They didn't. It's been like it's from day one. What happened is that these guys tried to, they circumvented this payment procedure, which allowed Apple to collect 30% by releasing their product with the ability to pay direct to Fortnite or Epic Games in this case.
And they did that.
And that was a breach of the legal terms of being in the App Store.
Well, they did that. What I read, they did that on purpose, knowing they were going to get kicked out of the store.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to shine a light on it and maybe have a reason for some litigation. So
there's definitely a legal case now, right?
I mean, I think it's one thing if you create a marketplace, you decide, I'm going to charge people 30% to come in my marketplace, and then it starts growing and growing. But at some point, it gets so large that it's almost too powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And the owner of the marketplace, who suddenly has become too powerful in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like antitrust stuff and things like that, Well, I don't think Microsoft's got to worry about their marketplaces doing anything like that. At least not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. So MVPs, it's the first of the month.
Yeah. Got a few more.
So therefore we have a big round of new MVPs. And today it seems that the UK have had their very big fair share of it. So Alison, who's often been on this show listening, chatting, she's an amazing lady in London. She's just been awarded. And I suppose what's kind of unique around Alison, like Alison is massively involved in the community, but she's a recruiter. She owns a recruitment company for people in the Microsoft BizApp space. And what this, I think, is absolutely amazing is that it shows that, because recruiters have had a hard time in our space for years, right? As in, from people shitting on them and in our space. But what it shows me is that she dedicated herself to the community and providing value and stuff. And here it is. She's been awarded. Another one is Tricia Sinclair. She's another lady in London. Done a lot lately for particularly around Black Lives Matter, but been active in the community for the last 3 or so years. I first met her in Scotland when I moved over to the UK. So awesome to see. A couple of others just in the list here, looking at who else do we have? We got someone looks like from Korea has joined us. Can't pronounce his name. Jun Ishii, I think it might be. Who else have we got? Michelle Wong, once again, been very active over the last couple of years, particularly. So good to see her join the community. Another one here, Hamid, which is from Nigeria. So we've got 2 MVPs from Nigeria now, because there's Hamid as well as who was the other one? It was Foyn, spelled Foyin. She recently became an MVP. You know what I can't get over about Nigeria is that they've got over 100 people now in the local user group there and growing. And they're not basic. We're talking about advanced skills now, right across F&O, the CRM, PowerApps, Power BI, etc. I am blown away about how much growth we're seeing out of Africa, Nigeria, particularly in this case, as well as other. I think we're seeing a lot more across that Asia area as well that we haven't seen, active or haven't been recognized till recent.
Is this a growth in companies in those regions using these products, or is this a growth in offshore organizations being built for offshore development in these regions, or what do you think is driving that in a country like Nigeria?
I think the Western world, if I could say Western world, being Europe, the Americas, etc., have for so long been very insular focused and not seen these as market opportunities.
Mhm.
But I've been saying this now for a year because I remember having a conversation with Andy Hafer back in, when we were at Summit last year, saying the biggest opportunity for user group growth is now Africa and Asia. And you think that these are low socioeconomic environments, and it's like it's not the case at all. The World Health Economic Forum shows that the ability for somebody across this band, the number of people that they measured two elements. One, they could travel internationally. In other words, they made enough money economically to travel internationally. And two was the average income being earned is now surpassing many places in the Western world. So the growth across these areas, it's not been in the media. It's not been on our radar. We haven't been listening or watching, and we're seeing this massive growth.
I think that it's interesting because as part of the Western world, we've been indoctrinated, and I'm sure you may have as well, almost since we were children, with the Feed the Starving Kids in Africa commercials.
That's it. Yep.
I mean, everything we heard about Africa was wild animals and starving children. And obviously that's not a fair representation of that continent.
Yeah.
But you talk about our insular, thinking. A lot of that is how we were all brought up and is drummed into us to eat that. There's starving kids in Africa that don't have food. I mean, just think of it as a starving country that's got no money, no capability, no nothing. Everybody's dying of starvation over there, and so you don't expect to see business success coming out of that country if you're looking through that lens.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, what post are you talking about? The one on the one with around that document I shared? Because nothing should be blocked. It's my post, and I uploaded the file.
Yeah, I opened it a little while ago just fine.
Might be the network you're on, Ken, or something. There might be a block of, because that's a PDF document that's been.
Wait a minute. Didn't you put a specific block for Ken on that upload? Maybe you did that.
It should be accessible. Now, I don't know if you heard the other news this week, which is the one that came across my radar, was Inside View and Click Dimensions have gone into partnership together.
Yeah, partnership is, I don't know. Acquisition is one thing. Partnership to me.
Yeah, but you don't know to what level. I've seen this where things start as partnerships and can go, to other areas. But, they both deal in data, particularly around marketing. And I know in recent time, Inside View have got a lot to around data cleansing, data quality, validation that your data's up to date. So I think it's interesting that these big ISVs are talking much more in depth, because I tell you, both of these are type companies that would be a few hoops to go through to get to being able to say we're in this level of partnership.
It's interesting. Inside View had made that partnership with Microsoft for a while, where they were offering it for free, with a license, right? Microsoft was apparently subsidizing the cost or something.
Yeah.
And I had lots of customers using that and loved that tool. It was great to demo,
Oh,
Always.
amazing to demo, man.
But then when they dropped when they ended their partnership, right? And everybody had to be, turned into a paying Insights customer. I didn't have a single customer that was willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't cheap. For one thing, it wasn't cheap.
No.
But yeah, so nobody
I
was.
tell you what, one of the features I absolutely loved and I would demo, I would get something like Unilever as a company name, right? Real big company. And you'd go, watch this. And you'd go to an account record. Oh, I'm going to target Unilever. And you type in Unilever and click in update with inside view.
Yeah.
Boom, it would fill out all the address, phone number, website details. Here's the C-suite. Do you want to add them as well? And it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how many breaches of privacy was involved in how that worked then or whether you'd get away with it now. But boy, I remember, like, oh man, I can remember one demo doing that and the company was just like, where do we sign? Like, wow, that's all that data entry time gone, all that cut and pasting from LinkedIn profiles. I think LinkedIn's probably blocked the ability to scrape half that data nowadays. But
I mean,
man,
I wonder how that does apply. I mean, GDPR wise and stuff like that. I mean, Insights owns their data, right? They got it from every source on the planet, I'm sure, scraping and everything else, but users didn't input it. I didn't input my data into Inside View.
No.
They were able to find it out in obviously publicly available sources, right? They didn't, hack into my ISP and get my information. I'm sure my shit's floating around on the internet all over the place. They found it and scraped it and added it to their assets, but they own it. So
this is the thing. I remember years ago when I was teaching, around web design and stuff, and there was a big legal precedent case in the US where a company scraped the phone records of a telecommunication company. In other words, they scraped back in the old days, you'd get a telephone book delivered to your house with all the phone numbers in it.
Yeah.
Well, they scraped it into digital format and made it available online. And of course, the company took them to court and said, you took our data. It was a breach. And the judge said there was nothing unique in what was there. It was somebody's first name, last name, and a phone number. That's not unique. So you can't say that that's your unique IP and own it.
Yeah, you can't own it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, because, that was a different area. We're around data privacy now, which was quite different than data ownership of something like somebody's phone number, which was around back in the day.
Yeah, and when you look at all the GDPR stuff, though, and I haven't had to dive into it too deeply because I'm not subject to it over here, but it seems to have a lot to do with I gave you my information and I don't want you to have it anymore.
Yeah,
I have the right to be forgotten, but that's from a company I had a relationship with.
Yeah.
I mean, how does this work with a company I had no relationship with whatsoever, that just found my shit out there on their own through whatever tools they did?
Exactly.
I obviously made it available or they wouldn't have found it, Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that inside view, how those tools work nowadays. I haven't used them in a while.
Last week I was talking about Microsoft, Biz Apps doing $3 billion. It's now north of 3 billion. There was an analyst call that happened, and Jason Gumpter at MS Dynamics World did a great write-up specifically from this analyst call. The Microsoft representative on the call was Mike Spencer, and it's 4.3 billion annually coming from Dynamics, and the lion's share of it is coming from Dynamics 365. Power Platform, let me clarify that. PowerApps and Power Automate are not even making a dent into where this income is coming from. It is clearly the Dynamics first-party applications that money is coming from. So you can see why when I said Dynamics 365 is dead and a bunch of Microsoft people went, whoa, cut that. Right. The reason is that, you got $3 billion coming in through those Dynamics products let alone, the Power Platform. Power Platform's obviously a long-term play and bet, but man, that's some serious coin. It only still makes up only 3% of Microsoft's revenue, but
Yeah, right.
$3 billion for 3%, man. That's a bit of that's a chunk of change.
You can certainly see why the first party app teams have gone back and forth with various schemes or things to try and protect their IP from being cannibalized by PowerApps.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if they're so successful like that, why they wouldn't continue that. Because lately they've kind of been backing off of some of that stuff, backing off of, it's like, if you want to build the most robust CRM application in the world, and obviously my stuff is not intended to be that, but if you wanted to build something as robust as Microsoft, knock yourself out. It's like they're saying, we don't think you're gonna do it anyway, so we don't care. And whatever little stuff you guys do, like what we're doing, isn't really impacting, they're not getting that all those billions of dollars from Joe SMB.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's big customers, complicated deals,
Yeah. But man, that's something. It's still, I remember when I was first an MVP and it was laughed at, it was well under $1 billion, well under $1 billion. We're probably under 100 million at that time. Yeah. And the joke internally in Microsoft is that, BizApps paid for the staff picnic at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's all it covered, the sausages and steak on the barbie. But obviously that's changed now, and with Satya's obvious, constantly pushing it, it's a big growth curve that they're on, and they're placing a lot of bets in the space still.
Well, I've no doubt that a big part of that 4.3 billion is the revenue share they're collecting from ISVs.
It's not actually 4.3, it's 3 billion. The 4.3 is based on they said the percentage was 3, and I think the total revenue was 143 billion, and that's where the 4.3, but the analyst, he said it's actually just over 3 billion annually at the moment, with a 42% growth that they're seeing. So 42%.
I need to read that article because Jason does a pretty good job unpacking that stuff. That guy has been around Dynamic for a very long time, watching them, and not from the behind the screen of a partner or an ISV or somebody who's actually building. He's been kind of watching, from kind of a different viewpoint. And I enjoy his take on, and when he reads some of that, writes some of that stuff, he's definitely a little more objective, I think, about what's going on in there.
Totally. One thing he says at the end of that article is around Microsoft's M&A plans, and it's well worth taking a look just at how the analyst's response to Microsoft's, whether they grow organically or inorganically in their strategic acquisitions. I just thought, once again, Jason's highlighted that key area, which is important to the growth of our ecosystem, I feel.
Yeah, I think that, they went through a buying spree, right? The Stutz Jujar timeframe, and it wasn't very successful. They got a little bit out of it, but they didn't get their money's worth by a long shot. They lost a lot of momentum and traction and time farting around with that stuff. Philips came in and pretty much just stopped buying anything. Just stopped all that stuff for the most part, and said, we're just going to build. Stuff's under our thumb. We can control it. Instead of buying somebody else's crap and trying to convert it, we're just going to build.
Yeah.
But then more recently, we've noticed an uptick in acquisitions again. Yeah. So
I think things might have been stabilized.
I think they got to do both. I think you can't put too many eggs in build. We're going to build everything, because now you can only go as fast as you can build. You can certainly buy faster than you can build, but they just didn't have a good buy strategy before. And I guess we'll find out if they do now. They're buying some stuff.
Well, see, this is the interesting thing. Someone had a controversial opinion earlier in the week that came out, which is in the fullness of time seems to be taking a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty full. It's pretty full.
You know, and of course that was a comment made by Stephen Siciliano, which I think actually was coined originally by Cunningham.
Yeah.
Around when would Power Automate and Windows Workflow Foundation, which is the underlying core technology of workflow in the old Dynamics world, when would they
The parity.
receive parity, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we're 2.5, 3 years on from that conversation.
Oh, they've come out with some zingers over the years of these kind of odd phrases.
Yeah.
Fullness of time is definitely one. The other one was they were calling things like the spring moment.
Yeah.
Moment. I mean, it was like, where's these words coming from that
Yeah.
somebody in the back of there is just coming up with these unique turns of phrase that people will think they know what you mean, but aren't sure. I mean, in the fullness of time, I think I know what that means, but
Yeah.
if you think
But
about
this
it,
is the thing.
it doesn't mean anything.
Is it going back to are they starting to acquire now because it's taking too longer to build the bridges that bring about the parity or the expectation of the market?
You know, I think that since Phillips took over, that whole organization has gone through a sea change. It's way bigger than it ever was.
Yeah.
Its focus is different
Massive.
than it ever was. But you've got some people now that have been there for a while. So I think they're feeling very confident and very solid on their footing now. And maybe they're feeling comfortable to, hey, let's go buy instead of build a few things, where before it was like, shit, we can't be buying anything. Nobody could even find the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were all over the place. So I think that maybe they kind of needed to feel like to get their house in order first.
Yeah.
Because, buying stuff and integrating it is no small task. I've spent, a while doing that back in my earlier career.
Yeah.
And that's no small undertaking and massive disruption. Those things have to be tight, and you got to be tight before you go jumping in that pool.
Yeah.
And I think it just took them a while to get where they felt comfortable. One of the other ones, we've got a few minutes left here, that there's some layoffs at UG last week, right?
Yeah. Massive amount of layoffs. My understanding, it's reduced there since the start of the year to less than 50% of where they were at.
I mean, interesting. You're talking about a business there who clearly was over-indexed on live event registration fees, sponsorships for live events, and their entire, too much, not their entire, but clearly too much of their business model was dependent on that motion, which for all intents and purposes has stopped completely.
Yep.
Pivoted to virtual, where they
cancelled, right? The Australian conference was meant to be virtual and it got cancelled. Like, no virtual, no nothing, gone.
Why would you cancel a virtual conference unless there's nobody signing up for it? I don't know. But, in the world of virtual conferences, everybody's doing them for free. So
yeah. How can you charge for it?
How do you pivot a paying live event model over to a free virtual thing and make any money? So I'm very curious about their future path, if any. They got private investment that came in, and
they got 11 million, right, about this time last year, which I assume bought a lot of control.
I would assume it probably did, and that was venture capital. And I know venture capital very well, again, from an earlier career. These folks are they're gamblers. They're placing bets on what they think is a good bet, expecting a big return on that bet. If they don't see a path to success, they're just gonna pull up stakes. This isn't their money. Most of these venture capital funds are using investment money from pension funds and various other sources. So they got a fiduciary responsibility to see, hey, if I don't see a clear path where we're going to exit this thing with a nice return, we're going to stop. We're going to stop throwing money at it, because it's just more good money after bad.
Yeah.
And if I look at UG today, devastating what's happened to their business model. I feel for them, but it did happen. And right now, they're essentially a bloated startup.
Uh,
They got to
I
start a new business model, whatever it might be, but they're a startup.
will they survive?
I don't think they do. I don't know. I would be more inclined to say they would if they didn't have private investment.
Hmm.
But now it'd be somebody like Andy, an owner, just
Yep.
on his will, making it survive, doing the
Yep.
cutback, doing the pivoting. But if it's the controlled by private equity money, I don't see private equity isn't going to have the patience.
No,
They don't have the patience to wait
they'll
for
cut their losses and move on.
put that money somewhere else and move on. And yeah. And when you start seeing, massive layoffs like that and virtual events canceled like that, the reason I would cancel a virtual event is going to cost me more to put the event on than I'm going to make,
Yeah.
because I didn't have enough signups. I didn't charge enough. I don't know how to do
You've
it.
got all the infrastructure for that, right? With Microsoft running a virtual events, they own all the infrastructure, right? They own
Yep.
all the back end. They've got the data centers and everything. It's kind of an internal, charge rather than a external arrangement.
Well, and events is not a revenue model of Microsoft. They don't make their money on
No,
events.
it's
They make their
marketing
money
for
on
them.
software licenses. So
Yeah,
this is overhead for Microsoft. For UG, it was their revenue model.
yeah,
That's how they made their money was events. So, when Business Applications Conference first launched, I remember talking to the UG folks, and they were all smiles about it, but they were shitting in their pants, because Microsoft had kind of given that to them for the couple of years prior.
yeah,
When they got rid of Convergence, kind of gave that to UG, which really blew them
totally.
up.
Yep.
UG had a hell of a heyday there for a while, and then here comes BizApps Conference, and they had to have been nervous about
Yeah,
that already. And
totally.
then you throw on the Dynamics 365 Saturday and everything that has spawned out into different things. Very painful business model. But hey, it's not the first business model that's been disrupted
Yeah,
and destroyed. Just one that was destroyed by a virus.
yeah. So true. Well,
Yeah.
everybody, thank you again for joining us. It's been great to have you on the show. If you've got anything that you would like us to discuss, make sure you either add it in the comments below on YouTube or hit us up on WhatsApp. You can see it on the all the URLs there to engage. Get in that WhatsApp group that we have running if you wish to chat offline during the week.
And if you have any
Otherwise,
negative feedback, keep it to yourself, because we don't really care.
classic.
All right, guys.
Yeah.